Hey guys, welcome back. In this lesson, I want to go over families, but not in the same way that we've been going over them, where we've applied different components, downloaded new components. Instead, I want to start modifying components, building our own components, really digging into the family interface. Now, up to now, we've been working through projects. We'd either open a new one or go through the architectural or structural templates. Here, I want to go to Families and select New. When you select that, you'll see a window open with all sorts of different family templates. This is what we're going to use to create our new objects, and it's what will determine the families to which those new objects belong for visibility graphics settings. So for this lesson, we're going to create some furniture. So select Furniture from the menu, and then click Open. And now we'll get started. Now, one of the first things that you'll notice is that you're actually missing your Architecture tab, your Systems tab, all the different tabs that we've worked with up to now. Instead, you have this new interface that gives you access to the building blocks of Revit. You still have your Properties window, and you still have your Project browser with different views, but now you have a Create tab with extrusions, blends, revolves, sweeps, swept blends, and void forms. Void forms are useful when you need to actually carve away from an existing extrusion. You also have different model options like model lines, components, text. You also have control, which we'll get into later on. There's reference lines, reference planes, work planes, show, and work plane viewer. Now, under your work planes, you technically have 3 different work planes. We can see this easiest by going into 3D view. So I'll go ahead and select Set again. And you can actually see here that you have your bottom layer, your front and back, and your left and right. So these reference planes really give us the ability to easily build in 2 different axes. So once we've chosen which work plane we want to work in, we can easily view it by clicking the Show button on the ribbon. You still have your Insert panel where you can import CAD details, and you can import either 2D or 3D elements. You can manage images if you want an image in your object. You have your annotations still, which will come in very handy once we start working with parameters and learn how to apply parameters to our components. There's text also, which lets you label different things and create annotations that way. You have a lot of the view options that you're used to: visibility graphics settings, default 3D, camera view. You have your Manage tab with materials, object styles, project units, the main Manage tab functionality that you're used to from your projects. And then there's also add-ins if you have any. For this lesson, I'm going to focus on the Create tab. Now, you can create an extrusion, which, just like you saw before when you created a wall, still has an end point and a start point. Now, depending upon where you start and where you end, will impact how you build. So for example, if I draw this box and then I hit the check mark, it builds it 1 foot up. But now, if I decide to change my reference work plane to front and back, now if I create an extrusion on this axis, I'll just sketch another rectangle right here. Well, that rectangle is being drawn along the vertical axis. So the 1 foot that we saw before will now come out to the side. So depending upon which work plane you're actually working in, which you can either choose from a list or click on the plane itself, and you can choose which one you want to work in. So the various tools that you have in order to select your work planes and switch between them easily greatly simplifies the process of creating components and applying parameters to them. We're also going to be using reference lines, which further aid in our ability to simply design these components and work with them parametrically. All these different tools will help you tremendously when you're trying to customize components for your project. Alright, well, that covers the introduction to the interface on creating new families. Go on to the next lesson where we'll actually begin creating a table.